Good evening. It's fantastic to see such a full house. I'm Frances Morris. I'm the director of Tate Modern, and I'm really delighted to welcome you to tonight's Tate Talk with Faith Ringgold. Many of you, I'm sure, will have seen the fantastic show we had here last summer, curated by Mark Godfrey and Zoe Whiteley with Priyash Mistry. It's currently at Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, Arkansas. It's going to Brooklyn in September. And then, breaking news today, it will go to Los Angeles and abroad. It was an extraordinary exhibition full of revelations and discoveries, particularly from people who are unaware of the extraordinary history of African-American creativity in the 20th century. But among the discoveries for me, anyway, was, of course, Faith Ringgold. Her large painting, American People, Series 20, Die, from 1967, was an extraordinarily powerful depiction of a race riot. Faith was born in 1930 in Harlem to a rather an extraordinary family. She's been a painter and a mixed media sculptor, including an amazing quilt maker, or quilt stories, as she calls them. But her career has been dedicated to activism and fighting racial and gender inequality. She's been a teacher, a lecturer, an author of children's books, and last night, as we heard, a songwriter. She has a very distinguished academic record. She's a professor emeritus of art at the University of California in San Diego. She's a recipient of no less than 23 honorary doctorates of fine arts and more than 80 awards and honors, including 2 National Endowment for the Arts Awards. So she's a rule breaker and a game changer. Her work is in permanent collections, the Met, MoMA, the Whitney, Guggenheim, Studio Museum, Brooklyn Museum, Art Institute of Chicago, the V&A, and not, alas, at Tate. We need to do something about that. Ringgold comes from a family of powerful women, and she would be the first to acknowledge the influence and support of her mother. But she's here tonight in conversation with another powerful woman, her daughter, Michele Wallace, founder and director of the Faith Ringgold Society, again, professor emeritus of English at the City College of New York and CUNY Graduate Center. She's an acclaimed author and cultural critic. Her books include Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman, Invisibility Blues, and Dark Designs and Visual Culture. She's also a great dancer, but has no voice. Oh, so the format tonight, mother and daughter and mother will be in conversation. It's going to be difficult to stop them, showing images of Faith's work from throughout her career. At some point during that perambulation, there will be an opportunity for people to ask questions, but if you can't wait, just pitch in. I think that's right. And we're going to finish at 8 p.m. That's a promise. I'd like finally to thank Pippi Holdsworth and Jonathan Horrocks for all their support. I know I'm not meant to endorse commercial galleries, but there's a very beautiful little show at number 6 Heddon Street. So please see the talk, see the show. Over to you, ladies. Thank you.
We first to start.
You could start.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have a microphone, but can you hear me?
Yes, you do. It's right there. Just put this down.
Oh no.
No, don't touch it.
No. Oh my God! I knew this was not a microphone. Where's the microphone? Okay, right there. Excellent. Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be here. This is a wonderful place to be for an artist with my daughter and my dealers and everybody, nice friends. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. This is my first two-dimensional design from the City College of New York, and they were very strong about design. And the other kids did a whole deck. And for my homework assignment, I just did one. That taught me a lot. Where art is concerned, don't fool around, because they'll up you in a minute. They had the whole deck of cards on the wall, and I only had one card because that was the homework assignment. Can you imagine? But that never happened again. Here is the American,
It's your self-portrait.
my self-portrait. There's a lot of circular movement in this, In this self-portrait, I'm trying to give it a feeling that was very prevalent at that time. However, America was carrying on something terrible. I mean, but the artists were not dealing with the politics of what was happening in the art. And I wanted to do that. I became an artist because I wanted to tell my story as a Black woman in America. And of course, that was a problem, but I stuck to it. And what is this? This is 2018. I think we're coming into our own. They're letting us do it now. Yes, indeed. So between friends, I'm trying to show what the American people were about. Two women trying to be friends with a cross in between them, but problems still. For members only, this was what we were told once when we went to a private, not a private actually, private park. Picnic, right? And they said, no, for members only.
Get back on the bus.
Yeah, get back on the bus. And we had to get back on the bus. Neighbors showing up to tell you you can't live here. Nope, this is not for you. What can I say? You have to deal with the situation. The civil rights triangle, you know, the head of the NAACP back in the day was not Black. I don't know how many people know that. But that's what it was. Very difficult. There were a lot of people who made that NAACP important, and they were not all Black people. Difficult. Watching and waiting. I'm trying to show that there's some people sitting at the table, there's some people recorded in a portrait, and there's some people waiting to sit at the table, watching and waiting. Mr. Charlie. A lot of people used to call certain people Mr. Charlie. He was the nice guy. Wasn't he the nice guy?
Yeah, he smiles.
Yeah, Charlie. You gotta name people all the time. I don't know why people do that. But Mr. Charlie was important. Here is the cocktail party. Yeah. It's there's only one there, by the way. One Black person. That was prevalent. Well, what do you want from me? I didn't do the inviting, but that was frequent. At least they had one, okay? The in crowd. Now, some were in, and you can see the arrows pointing down from up. So you see who's on the bottom. It's just amazing. I feel so much in debt to those who came before me and fought the struggle. So that's one of the reasons why I have devoted my life to my art and telling my story. The American dream. Women, we all want pretty much the same. And it's very difficult to get through, to get that point across. Because we have the race problem, which affects only the Black women, but the issue of women is shared. 3 men on a fence. Some people haven't committed themselves. Not then, not now. They're still sitting on the fence, trying to figure out which way to move, what to do. The family plan is to keep it like that. America keeps breaking the family plan and mixing more and more and more. Huh? How many years will it be before we will be one people of one color?
One family.
One family. God bless America.
Your first flag painting.
Yes. My first flag painting, yes. The flag is so important because it means so much to us as a nation. However, nobody should be what? Brutalized for using it to express evil in America. No, no, no. Portrait of an American. Oh, this is my brother. He was an angel. I loved him very much. He was 7 years older than me. And he died very young from an overdose of drugs. When drugs were only in the Black neighborhood in Harlem. Then, before you knew it, boom, it's all over. Now, it's everywhere. Young people using drugs and dying way before their time. Like my sweet brother. I miss him, even though he was 7 years older than me. He was actually my best friend. Hide little children. That's Barbara and Michele, the 2 little Black girls, hiding in the bushes with their friends, because very often adults try to keep them apart, little children. And children don't know anything about segregation. They have to learn that from others. Woman looking in a mirror. These paintings, the American People series, are what? Inspired by Picasso.
That one in particular.
That one in particular, yes. He was, Picasso is the one who began the modern art movement when he discovered African masks. African masks created what? The imagery for the modern art movement from the Greek, which was before that.
When he did Les Demoiselles d'Avignon.
Yes.
Which comes up in your French collection.
I think it's coming.
It's coming up later.
It's coming up later. The American People, artist and his model. Oh, yeah. I think a lot of Black artists tried to, use white images because they thought it was correct. And they thought that they would be left out if they used Black imagery. So they used white as a model. And I recall that definitely. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I was having such a hard time, because I was speaking up about a lot of things that nobody wanted to talk about too much. The flag is bleeding. It did a lot of bleeding. And let's see, it's still bleeding, as a matter of fact. But people don't have to go to jail for it. We got arrested for having a show. And there were a lot of artists in it. It was a fantastic show at the Judson 3.
Judson Memorial Church.
Judson Memorial Church in
1970? 1970.
Right. U.S. postage stamp commemorating the act. When we heard Black Power, we went nuts. Who said it?
Stokely Carmichael.
Stokely Carmichael said Black Power on television. And we never thought of Black and Power together. No. Nobody said that before him. And when we first heard it, we went crazy. So I wanted to make this postage stamp to commemorate. Put your head to the side, to the right.
The other way. Oh, maybe
You're right.
That way.
Okay.
White.
You see white? WHITE? You see it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. We never thought about white power. I mean, it was
Everywhere.
assumed. It was assumed and everywhere. Black power is the 10 black faces, right? We were only 10% of the population.
At the time, yeah.
At the time. The white people were the 9%.
90%.
90%. And I can't tell you how. Oh, and a commemorative stamp at that time
Was 10 cents.
was 10 cents. Can you imagine? Nothing is 10 cents anymore. Is anything 10 cents? No. As a matter of fact, I pay 45 cents a stamp. Isn't that what it is?
49.
40, yeah. But yeah, we could get a stamp for 10 cents in those days. Black Power postage stamp, yeah. 100, and that was an airmail stamp.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Do we
airmail.
still have airmail stamps? I don't even use those.
I don't think so. It's all airmail, isn't it?
It's
know what it
all, what do you call it? When you can use them forever and ever.
Forever stamps.
Forever stamps. Because they used to be dated to a certain time, and if you didn't use it, die. Yes, indeed. I made that we were having spontaneous street riots all over New York, all over America, I guess, and but nothing in the papers about it. Could we go back to?
Yeah, I think you can press.
Okay.
that.
Yeah, we would be standing somewhere, maybe waiting to go in a movie house, and all of a sudden somebody would do something, and bam, the spontaneous street riot. Sometimes in a movie show there,
Movie theater.
and you didn't know what was. Could we get back?
You want to go back to that picture?
Yes. We would never hear anything or see anything on television about that riot. Interesting?
Yes.
Nothing. It was a time also when artists were not depicting political issues. They were doing beautiful abstractions, yes, but nothing political. And I wanted to finish my American People series with something profound that was not being talked about and not being dealt with. And that was the riots, the spontaneous, bloody battles that people had in the street. I tried to give this painting to a lot of different museums. No, they don't want it. The blood, see the blood painted on the sidewalk, because that's where when you have a riot, the blood ends up on the sidewalk. And it's very difficult to paint blood. It's scary. It feels like you're bleeding. But I had to do it because I believe in telling my story, and this period of the 60s was very hard. And it was not acceptable in the 60s to paint about it. But since nobody was looking at me anyway, but I do what I want. and so I did. But it's now in the collection of the Museum of Modern Art. After how many years? 60?
50 years.
Is it just 50? No.
50.
It's just 50 years. Is it? Wow. But I never stopped trying. I asked them all, and they said no. Oh my God. Okay, we can move on. The Black Light series. In the 60s, there were artists who were doing colors that were very dark.
Ad Reinhardt.
Ad Reinhardt was one, and I loved his work. And I wanted to paint dark, and I wanted to, but it was hard because oil paint is really transparent. In order to get it opaque, you have to mix a little white to make the colors, make two dark colors show up next to each other. And that was so much fun. And that's my Black Light series that I did. Because everything was black is beautiful, black pride, black power, since what you call yell that. And here's my Black Light series. In order to make the people visible, I had to create clearly defined abstract shapes. Yes. And so I did. And that was a lot of fun in the latter part of the 1960s. Pardon me?
I love that painting. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Goody. Okay. Very much inspired by Ad Reinhardt and some of the others who were involved in that. And then Man, Black Light, number 2, another oil on canvas. I'm very much inspired by this one. As I look around at people's faces, the design of the eyes, the nose, the mouth is ingenious. It like never gets to be anything else. Soul Sister. Yeah. So I wanted to make her. I can't think of a more liberating time in my life than the 60s. It was then that I learned to wear my hair natural. Oh, I forgot that. No more hot combs in my hair. Black is beautiful, black pride, and black power all in one gesture. Yeah, the hot combs was an issue, was a problem. And I think I
thought everybody would love that work.
Really?
Especially Black people.
Yeah. What? Black Light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took a long time.
Yeah, it did. Mommy and Daddy, very important subject in my life and everybody's life, your mother, your father. And I wanted to bring the image of them together. The American art.
Black art poster.
Yeah, Black art poster, the dance, the music, the poetry, the art. All of that together. I gave what?
You gave this painting to the Schomburg Library in New York.
Yes.
Arthur Schomburg started.
Yeah, right. And I'm waiting to see them put it back up. Last time I was there, it wasn't.
No.
Because they've done some something.
They did something.
And the reason why I gave it to them is because I was born in Harlem and I've lived there all my life. And yet I didn't have any art anywhere. What is that? So I gave them that, and I expected them to, keep it up, but no. Huh? Last time I was there, I'm sorry, I didn't see it anywhere.
It's there though.
It is?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's in the collection.
It's in the collection, but the collection is somewhere else.
Basement?
Yeah, you laugh, but that's probably where it is. Yeah, interesting.
I
Large
love this.
black light. Yes. I first used the Cuba design, which is something I discovered when I went to Africa. They're beautiful designs. Eight triangles and a rectangle in this painting. Cuba is an African design from the Cuba people in the Congo.
Yeah.
Wonderful work.
Bakuba.
Yeah. And there's ego painting. When artists started not signing their work, that's when I did this. I mean, what do you mean you don't put your name on your work? I made a painting with just my name. You don't put your name on it. Somebody else can put theirs, and they did. So I figured, let me put mine since I did it. Yeah. Red, white, black, nigga. Ooh. The Chase Bank came.
This is owned by Harvard.
Really?
The Harvard Art Museum.
Really? Far out. Well, the Chase Bank came. David Rockefeller sent a couple of people to my house to get a painting for Chase, which is a bank. And
They ended up buying this one.
And because they got crazy when they saw that and ran out the door. But they had to come back because David Rockefeller made them come back. So my mother said, Faith, come on, give them something they can buy. So,
But the title was
What?
6 Shades of Black.
right, that's true.
But they said
American
spectrum.
Yeah. So I said, okay, we'll change the title.
Say,
Let me tell you, titles are very important
Yeah.
with works of art. Very. And some people buy the work of art because they're impressed with the title. So they actually,
So this is the first one they saw that they almost bought.
oh my God.
They said it's a flag. That's nice.
No, the guy said to the young woman, it's a flag, let's get this and go. So she said, well, you better read it because this woman writes on her art.
Go back to that one. Yeah.
What? Yeah, it said read it. And she said, it doesn't say anything. It's D-I-E.
That doesn't mean
nothing.
anything.
He said, read it. Put your head on the side here. And oh my God.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's go. But David Rockefeller sent them back. And when they came back, my mother said, look, find something. Come on. You don't have to do that. So
We love this one.
we found that other one. Flag for the moon, time again. And that's because they had spent millions of dollars going to the moon and nothing for the starving children.
That's the flag they planted on the moon when they got there. They didn't know it, but that's what.
United States, America, Black. And I tried to give here a collection of Black people.
It's a Cuba design again.
And another Cuba design. And a lot of what I do reflects the design I discovered from looking at Africa. Beautiful. Any aspect. U.S. America Black. Black light number 11. I like to work in series too, by the way,
Mhm.
because when I get an idea and I get inspired, I want to do a lot of work on that subject. And so this is just another one of mine. Well, these people are dancing,
Mhm.
which is something my people like to do.
They like to party.
Party time, right? And when you're out on the floor dancing, it's no up and down. It's like all over, And I wanted to reflect that in the
Wow.
composition. In the 1970s, I discovered my roots in African art and began to paint and create art specific to my identity as a Black woman. I made dolls and masks inspired by my painting. And to write in my art and to tell my story, not only with images, but words and in mass performances. Everybody was doing performances, though,
Yes,
in the
they were.
70s. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. And the masks were wonderful to make. And I had been to Africa, traveled all over Nigeria and Ghana, and was very much impressed by the work that I saw and wanted to.
But first, before that, you did
Before-
for the Women's House.
Yeah, I did for the Women's House because I had gotten some money from CAPS, Creative Artists Public Service.
And you became a feminist.
And I became, well, what did that have to do? Oh, yes.
Right.
Sure. Could we go?
Go back one.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Anyway,
That was big because those guys weren't so great. They were not nice.
well, what happened is the women, I did the painting to celebrate women and to make the women in the prison aware of what they could be and do. Because at the time,
Mhm.
they were not able to do any of this that was in those pictures.
Mhm.
They could not drive a bus. They couldn't play
Basketball. Professionally.
professional basketball. They could not be police
Mhm.
of any kind. And they could not play drums. No, no, no. And they could not,
Marry people.
they couldn't be ministers.
Right.
Now I understand there are women leading all churches. Am I right?
I don't know. I haven't been in a while.
Well, there are definitely women ministers in Christian churches,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And there are women rabbis, right? Yeah, so that changed a lot. But I wanted the women there, these young women. I mean, it was appalling how young they were.
Yes, they were very.
And I wanted them to realize what they could do and could be. And so I went to the prison because I was trying to give a work of art
A public work.
to the City College of New York, where I had gone because they were expanding. And I asked them if they wanted something, since I had graduated from there, I had gotten a really wonderful education, and I wanted to pay tribute to them. And they said no. So I said, I'm going to go to somebody who's not going to tell me no, because I can't take the no. And I went to the Women's House of Detention because I figured, I think I have an audience there,
Yes.
because they're there. And it's going to be okay. And I called them up and I asked the warden, and she said, yes, we're interested. And I went and she brought the women inmates in, and I was talking to them and asking them, well, what kind of painting do you think you'd like? And they said, one of them said, I'd like to see a long road leading out of here. I said, well, And so I put this painting together, and it was up there for a long time. And then they moved the Women's House of Detention to the Singer Center, and they moved men into the Women's House of Detention. And at that time, the men, they didn't move the painting. They just moved the women. And the men, after a while, they said, look, we can't take it. Can't be looking at all these bitches. And they thought that what they would do is they would get some white house paint and they would paint over this painting. And then one of
the brothers would
a
suitable image.
Yeah, because the inmates, they know how to do everything. No problem. Look, we'll paint something and nobody will even know, because that's the way you steal masterpieces. You paint over it with white paint and then paint another picture on it. And then you can take the white paint off and you got your masterpieces underneath. So they knew that, and they had planned to do it. But this painting is 8 by 8 feet. And when they painted it and they saw it was bigger than them, well, sorry, it wasn't about jiving anymore. It was about doing. And they couldn't do it. So they put it in the basement, trying to figure out how to destroy the evidence. In the meantime, one of the guards called me, because I had gone there and I got to meet several of the guards. And she called me and she said, listen, you better do something quick, because they're trying to destroy the evidence that they painted over that painting. I said, oh my God. So I called
the commissioner
of correction, and he said, I will take care of this. And he did. He raised $25,000, got all that paint taken off, that White House paint. It took about a year, though, to get it off, because, it's a very meticulous job.
But it was oil paint.
But the oil paint saved it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my teachers had taught me to do. Paint in oil paint and then go over it with the varnish. And so it was well protected. Okay, so now we have the painting back and it's correct. I mean, it's exactly the way you wouldn't know that it had ever been painted over. And they brought it back and put it way up in the
Singer Center.
They brought it to the Singer Center and put it way up in the ceiling in the women's gym.
Like in a
gym.
Like in a little prison
in a
of
cage.
its own.
Yeah, you couldn't see it. You couldn't see it. It was all, behind bars. I said, what the hell is this? However, they did loan it to the exhibition at
American People, Black Light.
American People,
the Newburgh Museum. And it traveled.
Right, at the Newburgh Museum. They loaned it to them. And we tried to keep it from going back, but it went back anyway.
Yeah. Went back, and then We Wanted a Revolution borrowed it again.
And then We Wanted a Revolution borrowed it again.
And now they're going to try to keep it.
Uh-oh.
At the Brooklyn Museum.
Are they?
Yeah, well, it's traveling. Yeah. But they're going to try to keep it at the Brooklyn Museum as a loan.
We are having a problem?
As a loan.
We're not having a problem.
I didn't say we were. They want to have it as a loan because Rikers Island, I don't know if you people over here are aware, it's terrible, terrible condition. And the hope is that it will close. Yeah. And it's not safe there. Okay. No one is safe on Rikers Island, much less
So are we sure that it's not going to...
On extended loan, Brooklyn.
Yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Because
the Sackler Center of Feminist
Series. I did it for the inmates, right?
But the inmates can come to the Brooklyn Museum.
The inmates can come to the Brooklyn when they get out of it. Sorry.
They should close Rikers Island down and let them all out.
Uh-oh. And then what?
They'll come to the Brooklyn Museum.
Oh, my God. Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that.
They're all from Brooklyn anyway.
They're not?
A lot of them are.
Is that true? Is it? Do people get sent to a prison in their neighborhood? No.
No, but I would guess Rikers Island is not a prison. It's a jail where people are held for trial because they don't have bail, which is inherently an unfair process.
All right.
And it would be mostly people who lived in the 5 boroughs. And I'm just going to take a guess that most of them are either from the Bronx or Brooklyn.
How about Harlem?
Some, but Harlem is gentrified.
Now.
It looks like Soho or something. Soho here or there. Your Soho, our Soho. It's classy.
Really? Well, are you trying to say that classy people don't go to jail?
Not to Rikers Island, they don't. Because they had bail.
Well, anyway, we don't want that painting to go back. No matter what. We don't want it to go back because it's not going to get to the women. Somebody else is going to think of something. And that, incidentally, a lot of artists have donated art to the Women's House, and I guess other prisons as well.
And sometimes it disappears.
You see, it did. A lot of it got stolen, but they couldn't steal mine because it's 8 by 8 feet. Too big. How are they going to steal that? They can't steal it. But a lot of, in fact, an Andy Warhol was stolen. But I gave them a little bit, and they just sneaked it right out the door.
But I just want to point out one fact. When it was installed by some technical people from the Museum of Modern Art.
Right.
And they said, I'll never forget, no one can ever remove this painting. The way we've installed it, it cannot be removed from the wall.
They were wrong.
They were wrong. Prisoners know how to do stuff.
Right.
They got that thing down.
Yeah.
I wish we could find that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
See, he was all
wrong.
He was all wrong. All you have to do is just sit down and think, and they had a lot of time to do that. They got nothing but time. And they got together and thought about it, and they figured out how to get that painting off the wall.
Yeah.
And they assured me.
And it's been off the
At
wall
the
ever
Modern?
since. That's right. Never.
That the way this painting is hooked up there, nobody will be able to remove it. Well, I'm sorry. He'd never been to the prison. They got it down. Ain't that something? Yeah, that was interesting.
Next.
The Feminist Series is the first, well, it's not the first, 6th, of 20 tankas that I made, which told stories. I think you wrote some of the stories.
I wrote some.
Yeah.
And there were also political landscapes, which you started in Amsterdam. When you went to Amsterdam,
Holland.
there
right.
was a guard in the Rijksmuseum who took you to see an exhibition of Tibetan tankas.
Right.
Perhaps in the basement?
Yeah, he said to me, you don't want to look at this. You come with me. And he took me down to the basement and showed me these Tibetan tankas, which was so beautiful, with writing on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was inspired to
your
write.
Feminist Series.
So I did a feminist.
And so the writings are from famous feminist abolitionists, Sojourner Truth,
women's quotes,
and then
that people
landscapes.
Mm-hmm.
Because you said that landscapes are political.
Well, they can be. They're the land.
It's the land.
All the stuff was on, and the people lived. So
and they
the
took
heart
from the people.
Life.
Yeah.
Slave rape number 2. Run, you might get away. I mean, this is all about slaves and how they.
And my grandmother made that tanka.
Yes,
I just forgot that.
Yeah,
Mama Jones.
Mama Jones made that tanka.
It's almost, to me, this is very interesting because it's a tanka, but the way she designed it, it's like a quilt. Right. And when she did this, you said you didn't understand the ace. You know, you said, are you sure you know what you're doing? This asymmetrical quilting thing going on. And she said, don't worry about it. I've got this. Mm-hmm. And that's one of them.
Right.
So this is like quilting. This is a pre-quilting
Yeah.
stage.
But you're limited as to how big you can make a tanka.
You are?
Yeah, that's why I had to go into the quilts. Yeah. you're limited.
Really?
Yeah, you're
Oh, that's
limited.
interesting.
You can only make them but so big.
Didn't know
a
that.
quilt can be made as big as this room.
The room, that's right.
Yeah. I wanted to make some dolls. After I went to Africa, I saw their fantastic dolls in Africa. Because African Americans don't make dolls. Unless they're doing it all of a sudden now that I don't have little kids anymore. But there used to be a supply of Black dolls for Black children, and you got to get there quick and get them before they all run out. And a lot of Black people bought white dolls for their kids.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so I wanted to make a doll of, what's his name?
There was somebody who said no.
Who?
Jimmy Carter.
No,
No, I made Jimmy
first,
Carter.
She wanted
because I
to make
couldn't
somebody black.
What's his name?
It was an athlete.
The boxer.
Oh, Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
That's the one.
But Muhammad Ali wouldn't give me a photograph. I said, I've got to have a photograph.
To do the three-dimensional.
I want to copy his face three-dimensionally, sewing it. And I couldn't get any response out of anybody. So I said, okay, I tell you what, I'm going to call the White House. I called the White House, and they sent me photographs of the whole family. And there they are.
And he's still alive.
Yeah. And he came to see it. That's in his library.
It's in his library?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to show my concept of doing faces sewing. Sewing the
faces.
nose on, the lips and so on. But I wanted somebody that everybody knew. And everybody knew
Him, and still knows him.
yes.
Isn't that
But
odd?
also everybody knew that other guy who wouldn't give
Oh,
me
yeah,
the-
Muhammad Ali. Oh, that would have been fabulous. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been. I wish I could have done that. They wouldn't cooperate. And here's the family of woman masks. And I did my family, Mrs. Jones and family. These are masks.
Death mask.
Yeah.
No, not
These-
death mask.
No, that death mask.
Not death mask, because that's you in the lap.
That's right. That's me.
Mhm.
No, that's me, my brother, and my sister, and my mother. Family of Woman Mask Series. And I started doing performances because I was trying to get to the people and trying to explain my work and everything.
Get seen, get
and I had
heard.
been to Africa and I saw that the masks were always worn with costumes. So I made the costume.
Mama
and the
Jones made
mask,
those
and
clothes.
You could get it on. Mama Jones made, my mother made the clothes.
Madam Willie Posey.
And here's another form of mask that you could put on. So all my masks could be worn. They were not just to hang on the wall. Because that's what I learned from going to Nigeria and Ghana, that the masks were all wearable.
Although we do hang them on the wall.
Well, we can't wear them all the time. We cannot wear them all the time. No, that's interesting. No, we can't do that. The 1980s, I completed my autobiography, but it took me 15 years to find a publisher. I was told that We Flew Over the Bridge, the memoirs of Faith Ringgold, that was the name of the autobiography. That's not your story. And I thought, oh my God, this is the worst form of what?
Censorship.
Censorship, to be told what your story is by a person who's a complete stranger to you, who's looking at you and deciding that your story is not what you say.
I remember
That
her
is
name.
a violation of freedom of speech that
Charlotte
I could not.
Sheedy.
Charlotte Sheedy?
She's
Right.
the mother of, I think, Ali Sheedy, the actress.
Yeah.
Charlotte Sheedy was the premier feminist.
Yeah, but she's the
literary
one who
agent.
got it published.
No,
Finally.
she's the one who said, I don't think this would work as a book. And then you went to Little Brand. Who has a story like this?
Well, hey, that's why you write your story, because it's unique and you want it to be remembered, right? And each one of us has a unique story, which we should write.
Anyway, this is your first quilt, and you did this with
This is my very first quilt, Echoes of Harlem.
with my grandmother.
And yes.
And for some unknown reason, the first time you made a quilt with her was in 1980, a year before she died.
Oh, that's right. We only made one.
Mm-hmm.
And I made
That's the
these
one at the
portraits
students'
of people that I knew in Harlem, and she sewed them together. That's the only quilt that I made like that, too, by the way.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. And
it was a exhibition.
Now, this
called
is
The Artist
Who's
in the
Afraid
Quilt.
of Aunt Jemima. This is the second quilt that I did. And it is
You made every piece of it. It took you a year.
yeah, that was long and hard. Making quilts is not easy.
Yeah.
Because it's very time consuming and so on. I painted all those pictures. I rewrote the story of Aunt Jemima. And I made her an entrepreneur, and, she did the pancakes, but she, invented the idea and she sold them and all of that. I lifted her up from...
But that was the last quilt you ever made completely by yourself.
Right.
From then on, you had collaborators.
Yeah, I had people
who
did the sewing. Because I did the painting. My quilts are all painted by me. And then the sewing part of it was done by my assistants. And because other than that, you make one quilt a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't do that. I want to make a lot.
You want to go faster.
Everything, yeah. Street story quilt. Now, this is my house I lived in.
222 West 146th Street.
222 West 146th Street. And what I'm showing here is that so many houses in Harlem used to get burned down,
Yeah.
because of, they were destroyed. I mean, it was
After
awful.
the riots.
After the riots.
the
It's a lot
landlords
going on, especially in the
let
80s.
people burn the houses down, and it was just terrible.
It was
but
terrible.
That's over now.
It's really over now, yeah. Sonny's quilt. My friend Sonny Rollins, who lived right up the street from me, he used to go up on the bridge to practice, because he wasn't allowed to do it. We lived in apartment houses, and people don't want to hear somebody, practicing their horn, and he had to do it. And so he would go up on the bridge. And so I did this quilt of him.
I think they want to name that bridge after him. Williamsburg.
Really?
Yeah, I think they want to.
They should. Maya's Quilt of Life, Maya Angelou, which was commissioned by Oprah Winfrey for me to do for her birthday, her 80th birthday or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm. No, younger than that.
And it's now at Crystal Bridges. She was a wonderful. And here's me and Oprah and Maya at Maya's house.
You all look so much alike in that picture. I can never get over how you look alike in that picture, like your sisters or something.
No kidding.
To me.
All right, huh?
Same eyes.
Yeah. She was very wonderful.
Who? Maya?
And here I am at Crystal Bridges in front of the painting.
They have
that went to auction. Maya kept it until she died.
Her son,
and then she gave it to her son.
He put it up for auction.
And he put it up for auction. And
Crystal Bridges bought it.
And Crystal Bridges bought it. Yeah, that was nice. Woman on the Bridge series, Double Dutch on the Golden Gate Bridge. I did a whole series of that with the Tar Beach. So it was 5 of the Woman on the Bridge series, and Tar Beach was number 1. This was 2, and there are, 3 more?
Then I don't know if they're all here.
That's one, Tar Beach, because we used to go up on the roof in the summertime in Harlem to cool off because nobody had air conditioning. And to cool off, you went up on the roof, and all down Edgecombe Avenue, you saw everybody on the roof. It was wonderful. Can you imagine? That would not happen. In fact, most roofs, they don't even allow you on the roofs anymore.
Is it possible?
And we used to leave our door open and go on the roof, and the people on the floor would.
So we can
if somebody came to visit you, they would take them and do you or tell them you go. Oh, it's amazing how things have changed. That would not work today. In 1991, Random House published my first children's book, Tar Beach. Since then, I have published 20 books, my autobiography, We Flew Over the Bridge, memoirs of Faith Ringgold. And here's all my books. And I have a lot to be thankful for the right to do this, because I had no plan to write children's books. At City College in the art department, illustration was not considered art. And that's crazy, but that's the way they thought. And then I get an offer to do Tar Beach, and then here comes all these books. And it's great because the children are wonderful artists. And I love being attached to them in any way possible. And of course, sharing my art with them. Flying Home, Harlem Heroes and Heroines is a mosaic in the subway in Harlem on 125th Street and Lenox Avenue. And it's on both sides of the station. And it's the first mosaic that I did. And it shows all the people who I grew up with in Harlem. And pays tribute to them. And incidentally, I should have included myself in that.
I know.
God. Anyway, here's all these people. Mary McLeod Bethune.
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Who's that? Du Bois. And the buildings, the NAACP building was there.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to go there. It's wonderful. Yeah, I've been there several times. And then Mary McLeod Bethune, who was the head of the National Council of Negro Women. And this was a wonderful experience working with...
Mosaics.
Yes, I've forgotten his name, but he was a wonderful guy. And it was made in Venice, right?
You had two mosaic makers.
Yes.
One in Montreal and another in Venice?
Yeah, the first one was made in Venice. Freedom of speech. This was commissioned by the Constitution Center to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Bill of Rights. And it is in the collection of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Now, it used to be the most popular poster. I haven't heard from them lately. I don't know what happened to that.
Anyway, Mom,
here's a French collection.
We want to leave some time for questions.
Okay, how are we doing?
Well, we've got 28 more minutes for them to talk.
Okay, the
and
French
we've got
collection,
quite a lot more slides.
In 1991 is a series of works. What's the matter with you?
I just want... Nothing, I'm just saying,
I'm trying to move ahead.
Okay.
This is Dancing at the Louvre, French collection, #1, a painting that I paid tribute to. I took my daughters to France, and I wanted to show them the Mona Lisa. And they kept talking about they wanted glacis. Because everybody was offering them glacis, which is ice cream in France. And I wanted to show them the Mona Lisa. Finally, we got to see it.
Yes.
Wedding on the Seine. Oh, yes. I walked that bridge in France.
And I'm in this painting.
The Picnic at Giverny. You and who else?
There's Bernice
Bernice
Steinbaum,
Steinbaum.
Lowry Sims, Moira Roth, Ellie Flomenoff.
Yeah, I think you're right. And who's that other one?
Isn't Emma Amos in that picture? Emma Amos, Ophelia Garcia, and also Janetta Cope. Anyway, that's just and me.
And
Your
I'm
supporters.
painting. You see me?
You're painting, and Picasso's naked.
Right.
Piquet Giovanni.
Well, he was always painting people naked, so I figured I'd paint him naked. Sunflower Quilting B at R with Van Gogh. These women thought he was strange, and he thought they were. Matisse's model.
And your heroine is posing for him, William Marie Simon.
William Marie Simon. Okay, and I wrote stories connected to all of these because I'm trying to get my words out, and I couldn't do my book, so I said I'm going to write until I get published. Damn it! And I did.
Chapel.
Yeah,
which is our family.
Matisse's Chapel, and I did all the series when I was in Lanapool. Yes.
In the 90s.
In 1991.
And this is Mademoiselle d'Avignon. And the sculptures and the prostitutes are talking to you and telling you that you can be an artist and that you can, don't be afraid of him.
Well, I don't remember that quite that way, but if you insist.
That's what the story says.
On the beach at Saint-Tropez. Saint-Tropez is close to Lanapool. I could walk there. In fact, I could walk to all these areas because I wanted to be in the place where the quilt was from. And because I don't like to do things that I have no knowledge of.
How about dinner at Gertrude Stein's?
Dinner at Gertrude Stein's, yes. Gertrude Stein has a house nearby there, and I went to that. Yeah, the information is there. I just can't read it. Joe Baker's birthday. Joe Baker, who went to France.
And had a career.
Yes. Very interesting, exciting woman. And so I have her laying up there. Café des Artistes. I went to that cafe, France, and sat in the outdoor cafe, thinking about the pictures that I was going to do.
Which you've included a lot of African-American artists there. William Johnson.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch of artists.
Elizabeth Catlett.
Right, because a lot of African-American artists went to France to be artists. And some were successful up to a point, but I think essentially not so successful. Moroccan Holiday. Oh, yeah, these are the four guys who were very prominently involved in the civil rights movement. And they enter into the story. And that's it. Okay, his American Collection.
Oh, here we go.
Why you say that?
What comes next?
Okay, American Collection.
We came to America.
We came to America. Yes, a lot of people did. And I wanted to particularly paint a picture of the Statue of Liberty in its original form, because you know the original Statue of Liberty was a Black woman. But the United States said, no, not quite. So they did not accept it, and the sculptor changed it to his mother's image. That's why she kind of looked like, I don't know what.
A white person?
Well, she's definitely white, but she has a kind of personal look to her, and it's because it's his mother, I guess. A family portrait is the character.
The family of the characters in the
I made a whole story connected with the American.
We're going to La Napoule to write a book about the French collection, the American collection in August, and reinvigorate the stories and the memories of
Denzel Washington bought this.
Denzel Washington owns this.
This quilt, yeah.
Born in a cotton field.
Born in a cotton field.
And there's also a children's book connected to this, Invisible Princess.
Right.
Because when you got to the American collection, you stopped putting stories on the quilts because your books were getting published. Tar Beach got published, We Flew Over the Bridge got published.
Right.
And you said, I won't put any more stories on my quilts.
Yeah,
but there are stories.
What about Joe Baker's Bananas?
What about it? It's at the Women's Museum, National Museum of Women in the Arts.
And that's Joe Baker back there doing all that dancing nude, huh?
Isn't that a painting by William Marie? Oh, the daughter? Marlena.
Yes, Marlena.
I think that she's having her opening at the Museum of Modern Art.
Right. She married a white man, huh? Was that?
I don't know who married a white man. I thought Marlena didn't marry anyone. But anyway, that's Bessie's Blues. Andy Warhol.
This is all written. You can research all of this. So
Andy Warhol influence.
Andy Warhol, yes, because he used to copy faces over and over and over again. And so I did a
Bessie's Blues.
Yeah, and there's the flag is bleeding with her bleeding, and the little children. I did 2 of those. The first one didn't have any Black woman in it, but the second one did, and she's protecting the children.
Cotton fields, sunflowers, blackbirds, and quilting bees.
Cotton fields, sunflowers, blackbirds, and quilting bees. Yes, that's part of the story. It's a rather long story about America.
Yes.
That it's not on the quilt, but
you wrote it down somewhere?
Oh yeah.
The two Jemimas.
Yeah, 2 of them. Well, that's the problem.
De Kooning influence.
Oh, right.
Like his 2 women.
Right. De Kooning did the 2 women, and so I did
2 Jemimas. What can you do?
Wanted. Douglas, Tubman, and Truth. I wondered if those people ever got together during slavery and talked or helped each other or anything. I never read it.
They all knew each other.
They all knew each other and participated in the...
Well, John Brown wanted them all to be involved in the revolt that he did. And then they killed him. And then they all had to come over here so that they didn't get arrested until we got rid of slavery.
Listen to the Trees, part of American Collection, number 11. And Picnic on the Grass alone. She wanted to do something else, but couldn't. And so she had a Picnic on the Grass alone. But I'm not quite sure why she did that.
I thought the guy didn't turn up.
The guy didn't show up. Oh, huh? Yeah, I think so. In 1992, Bertie and I moved to Englewood, New Jersey to build a painting studio over our newly acquired ranch house. Our neighbors organized to prevent us from doing this. The outcome produced my studio, garden, and a series aptly called Coming to Jones Road Under a Blood Red Sky, Part 1 and 2. I didn't want to record an unfortunate situation because art is something to inspire, to uplift. So it's my husband and I in 2003 sitting out in front of our house with the garden in the back. And but I wanted to tell the story in a way that would be inspiring. Mm-hmm. And so I connected it to
runaway slaves coming.
The Underground Railroad, right. And this is my great-great-grandmother, Susie Shannon, who lived to be 110. And
born a slave.
Born a slave, I was so inspired by her. And that's why I was shocked when these people were trying to prevent me from building my studio on Jones Road. I felt indebted to her and to so many others to tell that story. And of course, to get to build a studio. That was very important. Coming to Jones Road, part 1, Aunt Emmy. So I made up the story about Aunt Emmy and how she got the slaves to move toward the north. Because New Jersey actually is the last of the northern states to
free the slaves.
Yeah, to free the slaves. Coming to Jones Road, number 4, under blood red sky. This guy was bothering me while I was painting, and I just got so mad with him. I painted this guy red. And then I thought, hey, that's not bad. I like it. Coming to Jones Road, we just keep a coming. This was a very inspiring series.
Yeah, and
showing the people.
You started putting stories on the quilts again.
Yes, I started putting stories on them.
There are
again.
some of the Jones Road series that have stories.
Right. And here, because what they used to do was when they would come up from the South, different people would put a sign on their house saying, this is a house for runaway slaves. And they would be looking for that. But can you imagine how many people never found something and got killed and all that? So there was a lot of different stories. This was commissioned by the Metropolitan Museum of Art in 2004. Another one of the series done in serigraph of, see the house back there? And I think that one has a flag on it.
There's Dad.
And then I did one in tribute to my husband, Bertie, dedicated to you, 2010, Coming to Jones Road, part 2, number 1. I don't know what he has to do with it, but.
You wanted to dedicate it to him because there would have been no Jones Road without him.
That's true.
In our lives.
Yeah.
No
yeah,
studio,
we wouldn't
no
have been
house.
able to move there.
No house, no studio, no career. No money.
Aunt Emmy got us down. Yeah, Aunt Emmy was like a really saint who helped. It was Aunt Emmy and Uncle Tate, these two who
and then there's stories
got these
around
people out of there. Because there've been so many people who heroes and helped them. And this little kid was born during the
freedom. Yeah.
During the freedom ride. Yeah.
Actually,
Not no ride, walk. Can you imagine?
Series reminds me a lot of Beloved.
On Emmy and Uncle Tate. Now there they are, Coming to Jones Road, part 2, number 4. Yeah. This was a very inspiring story. It kind of lifted me from the, the down part of
They're not
fighting
wanting
with
you to be
these
there.
neighbors. Precious, Barn Door, and Baby Freedom, Coming to Jones Road, part 2.
And then the beautiful landscapes.
Oh, yeah.
Of where you were living in Jones Road.
Right. And I've always loved landscapes, but I've always lived in Harlem, in New York, where there are no landscapes. No. Chasing butterflies. That's the little children playing in the grass. And the whole story about them, can you imagine, the children during this period, coming from
Our secret wedding.
Our secret wedding in the week, because people were not allowed to get married. So they had to secretly marry each other.
Which is here at Pippi Holsworth. I got to look at it yesterday.
Oh, right.
I love that landscape there. It reminds me of your friend, Linda Freeman.
And how about Harriet Tubman?
These are the last Tonkas Mother
These are the last 3 Tonkas my mother made. And I didn't use them right away because I didn't have more stories. And she said, oh, you don't
have to put any paintings in those.
They don't need paintings. You just put them up and that's it. I said, no, that's okay. I'll get some paintings. So in 2010, I wanted to commemorate Sojourner Truth. Ain't I a Woman? She was the first feminist, wonderful woman. And Martin Luther King, okay. I Have a Dream. And I Have a Dream. And what was the third one, Michele? So that's just two, but there's three of them.
Got 12 more minutes.
Yeah, jazz stories. All the artists I ever do.
You're not going to get to ask any questions.
That's fine.
Because we have to be out of here at 8 o'clock. Is that right?
And what time is it now?
Maybe another 5 or
You're kidding.
What time is it now?
It is 11 minutes to 8.
11 minutes. And 8 o'clock we have to go?
He's
another 10.
he's
another 10
saying he can give you another 10
Okay.
minutes. But
We
see,
can-
that's
Okay,
why
this
I
is the
said,
jazz
ever
series.
stop the roll.
This is
You stop it?
the jazz series because artists love to do paintings about jazz, and I'd never done it till 2004. And so I did this whole series, and this is them there. Come on,
You're
Why-
pressing
why-
now, Mother? She's pressing.
I didn't it. Mama can sing,
These are
you know she
beautiful.
can, and Papa can blow.
These are
Where's Papa?
gorgeous.
There he is. Go ahead. These were really a lot of fun to do. Freedom flag stories. On Tuesday morning, we faced the devil in the sky and told him that freedom will never die. This is a whole series of flags that I did when we had 9/11.
Mhm.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that it was real. I saw it on television.
I'm sorry.
The
That was me.
I saw it on television, the plane flying into the buildings. And I thought it was some kind of advertising. And I said, oh my God, what is it? And I kept turning it off, and every time I turned it back, the television back on, I saw it again. Until a friend of mine called me up and told me, you better turn on your TV and see what's going on. Not an advertisement. Hate is a sin. This is
Post
another whole
9/11.
story, yeah. It is a sin and fable. I can't read it to you because
Oh, I love
we
this
have
one.
to go. Now, Martin
Wonderful.
Luther King, this is his letter from a Birmingham jail, which I got an opportunity to illustrate, yes. And it had never been reproduced anything because his wife didn't want it to happen, but I got a chance.
Then she died.
Yeah. The Declaration of Freedom and Independence, because Declaration of Freedom and Independence was written at a time when we were not
And this was supposed to be a book,
independent.
but the person who was supposed to do it was unhappy with how you interpreted the Declaration of Independence. And so it's never been published as a book, but we are going to publish it.
Yes. And
These are the
this,
great mosaics.
yeah,
A few more. of
be or
these.
not to be free. And this is done for the Newark, New
Anniversary.
Jersey's 350th anniversary.
Yeah.
That was Quilt-to-Duco, my game. Oh my God.
Now, see, aren't you sorry it took so long to get there?
Quilt-to-Duco is my game. If you know Sudoku, how many people know Sudoku? Well, you got to know Quilt-to-Duco. Yeah, Quilt-to-Duco is my art game. Faith Ringgold is my name. Play my game and you'll have fun. It's for young and old and everyone. And that's not all. When you've won, glory be hanging on the wall for all to see. Okay? There you go. What would America be like without 400 years of Black history? Not to mention 250 years of slavery, 1619 to 1869, and only 150 years of freedom.
Boom.
No answers?
Boom.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Thank you. I guess on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for coming to London. It's such an honour to be able to have listened to you this evening. I have a question regarding your story quilts. Specifically, what is the process of making a quilt? Do you paint first and then do the quilting and the quilting stitches, or do you quilt the canvas with the fabric and then paint onto it?
No. First thing is to lay a foundation color, which is painting one color over the whole canvas, and then painting the picture, and then doing the border, and a very, very thin filling, and a backing, and then sewing all of that together, and then some lines of stitching to stitch the painting to the filling to the back. You get it?
Yeah, thank you.
And in that way you can make your quilt as big as the world, and roll it up, and ship it or take it. You can pick it up, because before that, with the paintings on stretcher boards, I had to wait for my husband to come home from work to pick up my painting. That was crazy, you know. But this way, with the quilts, I could roll them up, take them wherever I want to go, or ship them. Roll them up, put them in a trunk, and they could go, or fold them up, whatever. That's why I started with the quilt.
Thank you.
Hi, I don't know how I missed that Michele Wallace was going to be interviewing her mother. I love both of you so much. It's like I'm at Black Feminist Disneyland right now. And I want to ask both of you, since you're both here, this whole thing with Me Too and this reimagining of how power can be shared, what your thoughts are on it, because I love that picture of the two of you outside the Whitney trying to, agitate for more Black female representation. And that was, some people were not even born when that was happening. And I just, how far do you think we've come? How far do you think we have to go? And I'm actually also really interested in hearing your perspective on it as well, Michele Wallace, because of the book that, Black Macho, this idea of how patriarchy can really kind of interfere with the struggle for racial equality.
Yes, I agree.
She's the one who said the 50%. I was shocked, because I said, Michele, what percentage should the Whitney annual be women? What percentage should we demand? Because you gotta have a percent. We had a percent for everything during the civil rights era. So I said, well, what percentage should we demand that women should be in the Whitney annual? And she said, 50%. And how old were you?
18, maybe?
I don't think you were 18. 15, something like that.
No, not 13. I was 18.
Oh, okay, she was 18. And I said, this girl is too young, and I've burdened her with all this, and something is not right. It's not fair to her. Because 50%? Are you serious? But then I I couldn't do less than that. I couldn't let her be more to the point than me. So I had to accept the 50%. So that's what she's doing. She's showing that 50% demand at the Whitney.
It's interesting too now with Me Too, quotas and percentages are coming back. Frances McDormand at the Academy Awards said, I have 2 words I leave you with, inclusion rider. And then it turns out what that means is that when you have a project, you demand a certain quota of difference, people of color, et cetera. And I thought that was so interesting because, we went through this stage where we renounced quotas as being racist or whatever. And Me Too seems to be bringing it back to Hollywood.
You know what Me Too is?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, do they?
Well, there's 2 Me Toos. I'm combining the 2. One is that Me Too, I have been abused, sexually harassed on the job. But the other part of it is, it seems to me, you're being harassed on the job because you don't have any power on the job. And they harass you like Weinstein and others, and they tell you got to lay on the couch, I have to have sex with you, or you're not going to get a part, et cetera. And so it's the sexual harassment. But where it comes from is the fact that you're not running the studio, and you're not directing the films, and you are not in power. If you were in power, then you wouldn't even be talking about whether or not I'm going to go in the room with you, because you're already running things. So that's the way I sort of see it. And it seems to me that the reflection of Me Too that's happening is that women are saying, of course, we see it a lot in the entertainment industry, we are not going to put up with sexual harassment. And not only that, we're going to have more roles, and we're going to direct more films, and we're going to run the studios, and we're going to run everything.
Wow. A lot.
It seems like to me. A lot. And then that way, we don't have to worry about you trying to get us in a dark alley.
Uh-oh. Maybe we'll get you in one.
Well, it's possible.
You don't know. We have to see.
If you had inequality, if women had more power than men, I'm sure women would abuse it. But we don't.
Yeah,
so we can't.
We don't know. So maybe yeah.
It's never going to happen. And that was the magic about 50% when I saw it with this, because it's never 50%. Either women completely take over a field, as it seems to me they have done in art history, for example.
Oh, really?
And a number of other, they take it all over. All of a sudden, all the professors are women or whatever, or they never get, or there continues to be men and they never get to 50%. Either get way over 50% or we don't get to 50%. It's never exactly.
Well, it's never.
Has anybody noticed that? It's never exactly even. That's why I think 50% is a good thing to say.
But we don't know
good
what's
well they're not going to do it.
Because we only live during our lifetime.
That's true.
We don't know what's coming in the future.
Well, when I started teaching at City College, the faculty was almost entirely male. Now it's almost entirely female.
I was at UCSD.
I think maybe the men don't want the jobs anymore. We have to work harder. We have more classes. You know, the job changes. But we have the job. So what can I say? I retired. And I'm here with Mom. I don't know what's going on over here, but over in the United States, I noticed there's a lot of women in curatorial positions too. Has anybody been noticing that? Yeah, and things are better.
I think it has a lot to do with how much you're getting paid.
Always. Always.
No. Hello?
Well, I think someone's got a microphone around here. Oh, well, the microphone's right next to you.
Okay. Is it on? I think it is.
It is.
What I really want to know is tell me about your day of painting. Tell me what happens during the course of a day and what you're thinking about when you're doing this variety, things that you do, which are wonderful and inspirational. So tell me about you.
Well, I'm thinking about the subject of whatever it is I'm doing.
Well, first of all, she gets up at 5 in the morning. Let's start with that.
Well, you have to, you got to get up, and you got to get up and get into it, huh? Now, I can remember way back, I used to pray first because I wanted to, I don't know, I wanted
Get in a
to
place.
get into a certain place, and so I used to get on my knees.
Wow.
I stopped doing that. I don't do that anymore.
Never knew that.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
I was
I
asleep.
didn't spread it. And I would pray that I had the vision
Divine inspiration.
and divine inspiration. And then I would go upstairs and
Begin.
begin. And I would paint till about 1 o'clock. And then come downstairs and have some lunch and stuff like that. And then the rest of the day would be writing or reading or whatever. But I wanted to get myself into a good frame of mind so that the painting would be like almost spontaneous with my, because I paint the series. So I would be into the mode of whatever the subject was. And I had done my prayer and I would just begin to paint.
And you also would work on different paintings at the same time. Right?
Yeah, I got them all up in my studio.
Move.
You know, I might have as many as 10 canvases up. That's why I had to have a studio built that was big enough to do that. Yeah, not no 1 or 2 at a time, no. And then I have a process in working. I begin with the underpainting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then I just keep building it,
Building.
building the painting until I'm finished.
And acrylic. Right?
And using acrylic now, not anymore the oil, because I can't paint but so big with the oil, because then you end up having something like a house to move. And
it won't roll.
no, so I
Correct.
paint in the quilt format so that I can make it as big as I like, and I can roll it up, fold it, whatever, move it, wherever.
Hi, I wanted to ask you like specifically about Aunt Jemima. And when you were sort of creating Who's Afraid of Aunt Jemima, I remember reading that you asked Michele to write the story for you. But you said you felt she was sort of less relevant to you. And I was also in comparing to the way Betty Saw like portrayed her as a revolutionary as well. And I was just wondering if you could expand on how she means obviously different things to all of you. Why maybe?
Who, Aunt Jemima?
Yeah.
Well, when I asked Michele to write Aunt Jemima, because she's always been a brilliant writer, and I wanted these stories, but I didn't know whether I could do it. So I said, Michele, maybe you should write the story. So Michele said, no, what?
It varies.
You said,
I run 5 miles a day.
I run 5 miles a day, so I'll never look like Aunt Jemima. That's what she said. I said, so what the hell is that got to do? The story, you know? But I'm so glad she did that.
Yeah.
Because it started me writing. And I've been writing ever since. So I'm glad you said that. Whatever you said, I'm glad you didn't do it. Yeah, I've done a lot of writing.
I went for a run instead.
What's that?
I went for a run instead.
Yeah, she went for a run instead of, she didn't have it.
And I had to stop running
You did?
to save my knees.
Oh, well.
What can you do?
Anybody else?
Faith, if I may, you've been up since 5 a.m. And we're all now
kept us up
really,
till 5
really
a.m.
keen to download Quilto Duco. And you've taken us around the world and back and through 60 astonishing years. And I have to say, I've never seen a standing ovation in this auditorium before. So
Wow.
I would like to thank both of you, Sisters United,
Thank
mother
you.
and daughter, Michele and Faith, an extraordinary evening. Can I ask you all to join me in thanking two remarkable women?
Thank you. Thank you. Sweet audience. Sweet audience. Oh, yeah.